question.
Correct.
There are a couple of us that are qualified in this audience.
Thank you. We are now moving on to item 24B, which is discussion on the 2006 Nevada Department of Wildlife Mule Deer Management Plan and its completion. This plan was slated for revision in 2010. It's from staff biologist Tony Wasley.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.
For the record, Mule Deer Staff Specialist Tony Wasley. Apologize to the board. I have no indication of what the board wishes to hear on this topic. The first I learned of it was reading it on the agenda. So I do have a copy of the plan in front of me, and I guess discussion can go in whichever direction the commission decides.
I'd start with a couple questions. One is just generally this plan came up and this was originally slated. I mean, we found that this being the management plan for mule deer, and I think on Mule Deer Commando it came up a couple times because this was the plan as it existed, and it was showing that it was slated for revision, and that actually was brought to my attention just recently. Just a few items on it. Well, I had a few questions on just to kind of see where we were on a few of these items, and you know, just brief yes or no. I mean, it'd be fine. You don't necessarily need to get into the greater details if you can. Page 6. Just some of the strategies here involved. I just wanted to see, you know, at what stage had they been completed or were they carried out? Under the accurate survey and inventory strategies, science-based replicable survey methods are key to science-based mule deer population management. You know, we went over this on the committee meeting. Like a few of these. Start with first. On each one of these items, as you're reading those, have we accomplished each one of those things? Have we managed to evaluate and refine mule deer survey and inventory protocols by integrating aerial and ground survey technologies? Down the list.
Maybe it would be better to have the opportunity to go through and actually provide a report to the commission on these items rather than be blindsided. I go through and provide a general answer to these, but it might be better to actually get some specifics to address each of these.
So I'm just trying to, okay, that's fair enough. I'm just kind of looking at them wondering, you know, how far we've come along in this plan, because it is up for revision. And that was according to the original wording of it, right?
Yes, it is. The general issue here, accurate survey and inventory strategies, has been a broad topic west-wide. Colorado in particular spent time in court trying to defend their survey and inventory methodologies. As a result, a lot of political pressure being placed on directors around the West, testing the veracity of their data as philosophical, you know, management direction between opportunity and trophy has divided some sportsmen and some managers. Directors have been, you know, challenged on their data. So they put the Mule Deer Working Group under the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies on task to develop a survey and a monitoring guideline document for mule deer. And it outlines, I guess, what you might call best management practices to that end. And it addresses each of these areas in addition to other areas, including hunt monitoring, survey type questionnaires, rather, hunter success type questionnaires. So that's a document that's out for review right now that I could certainly provide to the commission and bring in as a matter to discuss as well. Okay, and yeah, and if we're going to go into that, I mean, there's a few items on here. Maybe I outline them then for that time. Maybe the commissioners probably have some items too. Well, as a general overview, on top of that page, I'm just trying to figure out what has been done, or a brief overview. It doesn't need to be tremendously extensive. On top of that, strategy, cooperate and coordinate with land management agencies and land use planning
minimize impacts, habitat type conversions resulting from large-scale disturbance. I was trying to correlate that with all the stuff that's coming out of the committee. I was wondering what had been accomplished on that. Like I say, can bring that up at a later date, that's fine.
A lot of these strategies are simply a formalization of what we do on a day-to-day basis already. That's one of those strategies. When we say cooperate and coordinate with land management agencies, minimize impacts of type conversion resulting from large-scale disturbance, a lot of that is going to be range fires. And that's going to be trying to get a browse component back in there for the benefit of mule deer. It's going to be green stripping to save whatever unburned islands might exist. So it's not to suggest that the department was remiss in performing that strategy prior to this plan, but it formalizes those actions.
That's fine. I mean, I was not taking nail in the accusatory form there. I'm just trying to see what's going on. And also, I was kind of wondering there now, large-scale disturbance. I mean, when I saw that, I was coming to my mind the pipeline, big projects like that, wildfires. What else is there? I mean, you know, big transmission lines. I would assume that's what we're talking about, or I mean, my assumptions might be totally off. Maybe we're not talking about pipelines and power lines and freeways.
Yeah, my guess is it's primarily directed at fires.
At fires. Okay, so it's not any of the other forms of disturbance that we would have discussed?
Well, I think it's all those forms of disturbance, but the scale is the issue. When this says large scale, a lot of those disturbances don't occur on a large scale. The footprint on the Ruby pipeline is supposed to be 155 feet wide. Granted, it's large in that it goes across the state, and we're certainly coordinating and cooperating. We were out last week flying the pipeline and the trench to make sure that the contractor was in compliance with positioning of the pipe and the spoil piles to still allow animals that are trying to migrate to, you know, lower snow depths to get through those areas. So again, it's formalization of what we're already doing.
Okay, the portion of that, go back to page 2 on departmental coordination. Game Bureau Chief, which I mean tells the age document, we still have Bureau Chiefs, will provide annual update on the development, implementation, revision of the area management plans derived from the guidance provided in this management plan for mule deer. You know, that's something that updates were presented at March meeting of Edible Well Commissioners. I don't know, maybe that was something that happened in the couple years before I got on the commission. Is this something that's basically fallen out of practice because of different changing of command? Or?
Exactly. There's a number of planning processes that are primarily an artifact of the 9-member board that you all sit on. Prior to some of the change in membership, you know, this plan was a product of a previous commission. There were some tangential topics that were being followed, and with change in personnel, some of those things likely slipped through the cracks as priorities changed and agency direction was shifted.
Which is probably why it talks in here about it needs to be updated at least every 3 years.
Right, and what we like to do with that language is we like to have it less specific, because if there's an opportunity, or if there's a need rather, to review it in a time frame that's less than 3 years, greater than, if the plan's working fine, there's no point in having to hash it out every 3 years. If it needs to be addressed in 1 year, do it in 1 year. So we like to have it a little bit more flexible and be able to address that on an as-needed basis, not necessarily have to have it on every agenda every 3 years.
But as we're talking about this is probably due, just due to those some fairly substantial organizational changes. Would that be accurate? And would that be a department stance?
Yeah, I think it's good to evaluate the agency's plans on a regular basis to accommodate, you know, change.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Lent?
Tony, I had a couple of questions here. Yeah, this plan here was developed to assist the Wildlife Commission in establishing statewide policy and regulations, right?
Does it say that in there?
I didn't write it.
I didn't either.
Page 2.
Okay. Then I would say that's correct.
If you're not familiar with it, I guess we should end the conversation, but
well,
there's some questions in here that this was made to assist this commission to establishing policy and regulations. That includes deer. So my question is, it's been 5 years, and on page 6, on the surveys, it says replicable survey methods are key to science-based deer population management, and it lists these things. And so it's a yes or no. Are you doing these 8 or 9 things here? Yes or no?
We are moving in that direction.
Okay. But that's what it's for. It's for to help us make decisions.
Help you, help us have
Right.
better data.
That's the whole purpose of it, to do a science-based, study on deer. And when we said deer, we want to do it on a science base, and that's the whole purpose of this. And like I say, it's been 5 years, and I just was wondering if it's being done.
Yeah, I mean, I could point specifically to strategy number 6 on there, on page 6, monitor winter fawn survival in key areas to maintain accurate index of recruitment. We're undertaking a project this month and next month to put a significant numbers of VHF collars out to measure over winter survival of fawns.
And you're doing it, see? That's what I want to
And
know.
that's new, yeah.
All right. Anybody else have questions on this? All right, this is just an information item. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Appreciate it. I guess I want to bring that back up at a later time for revision. All right, flip the page back, and we've been moving things around a little bit here. We're back to